On November 9th, the World Health Organization declared the mosquito-borne Zika virus is no longer a global health emergency after dire predictions it never became an emergency or epidemic in the U.S. Even so, last September, Congress approved more than $1 billion tax dollars to fight Zika. Was it all overblown? Lisa Fletcher reports from Miami on the Zika effect.
I think that the dissemination of information created a crisis, which, in my opinion, was far greater than the actual facts that should have really been put out to the public.
Joe First is a commercial real estate developer in Wynwood, a trendy community of galleries, boutiques, and restaurants just north of downtown Miami.
It's a place that we really are trying to make into a work, live, play environment.
But Wynwood's burgeoning art scene took a nosedive last July when it became the first Zika zone in the United States.
A mosquito-borne epidemic spreading through the Americas for months.
A major health alert tonight.
Good evening. There is an urgent and highly unusual new government warning out today.
The Centers for Disease Control issued a first-ever travel advisory for pregnant women after 4 people in the area tested positive. Yet, according to the Florida Department of Health, they were not able to trap a single infected mosquito in Wynwood.
We saw sales drop at our retail establishments by 60–70%. Visitors declined by well over 50%.
What message did that send to tourists and people who came to eat out or to go shopping?
It was a ghost town, so it sent a very clear message that that Wynwood at large was not safe for business.
Was it safe for business here?
I believe so. And frankly, the messaging that this is a disease or a virus that really only preys upon pregnant women, that was also lost in the communication, and it became an outright ban on travel or visitation to this area.
Miami Beach was the next Zika zone, and the news also caused business to crater. The Lowe's Hotel lost 700 bookings, and some restaurants saw as much as a 75% drop in revenue. That's when the city launched its aerial pesticide spraying program. The planes made 4 passes over the neighborhood where Jacqueline Powers lives.
As a new mom, obviously you would think that I would be rah-rah, let's spray, let's do everything we can. But I took an opposite stance, which was that these pesticides that were involuntarily being sprayed on us were really more dangerous for my children than the mosquitoes were.
Powers organized a protest at Miami Beach City Hall that temporarily postponed but ultimately failed to stop the spraying.
So I feel like there was this big sense of, if we just spray the hell out of the situation, we'll get the Zika zone lifted, tourism will come back, and it'll look like we're doing something. Our playgrounds where my children play were being sprayed on. This whole community was being sprayed with a known poison.
We're really a crisis-driven society. The crisis hits, and then we respond as if the lack of a response will cause widespread devastation.
Jay Feldman is the executive director of Beyond Pesticides, a group that opposes the use of Naled, the neurotoxic chemical sprayed over Miami Beach. Naled's been approved for use in the United States since 1959, but is considered so dangerous it is banned in the EU. Feldman says it's not only a health risk, it's an ineffective way of killing the Zika-carrying mosquito.
We're trying to protect an infant newborn population from a disease, microencephaly, at the same time that we're spraying one of the most toxic, neurotoxic pesticides over whole communities.
This is the reason for the urgency. This is the reason for the fear.
Congress ultimately approved $1.1 billion for Zika, $394 million of which will go to the CDC for mosquito control programs, including spraying. To eradicate a potential threat that public health expert Lawrence Gostin of Georgetown University says is very real.
It's serious. If you look at the fear in young women, and particularly young poor women's eyes around Zika, you would understand it.
But panic does create its own set of problems.
It's
you have overspending,
problems.
You have fear. You can't walk that back.
No, you can't. I think I do believe that mosquito control using including genetically modified mosquitoes and spraying, intelligent spraying, was a good idea.
Is the fear justified, though, particularly in the United States?
Yes, the chances of you being bitten by a Zika-infected mosquito are low, but if you are and you're pregnant, the chances that your baby is going to have significant long-term problems are, you know, they're reasonably high. It's not something to take lightly.
Something that Jacqueline Powers doesn't take lightly either.
I hope that the next time, whether it's Zika or whatever the next public, health crisis is going to be, because inevitably there will be one, that maybe a little common sense can prevail.
You're a good boy.
She pledges to be front and center at City Hall should they resume spraying this spring. And on Wednesday, the CDC issued a new travel advisory cautioning women not to travel to Brownsville, Texas, because there have been 5 so-called homegrown cases of Zika reported there.
How many cases have there been in the U.S.?
About 4,600 since they started tracking earlier this year, but more than 95% of those were from people outside the United States.
Yep. Thanks so much, Lisa.